I added 15,341 in monthly recurring revenue to Sean's business, and the whole process took only 45 minutes of his time. Because you already know this exact feeling where you're genuinely the best in the world at the thing that you actually teach, but the entire business is dependent on you doing marketing and sales. So you're working 12-hour days, right? 12 to 14 hours, trying to get new clients instead of getting better results for your current ones. But your income is still not growing. It was basically the exact situation that Sean was in, and he's a 7-figure health coach with a big audience. And this guy genuinely knows his shit, like he changes people's lives for real. But Sean was a doctor. He's not a marketer, so he didn't have a funnel, a proper content structure, or any strategy behind it at all. And to be very honest, right, adding 15k monthly recurring revenue isn't the most impressive part because my clients are now able to do that kind of numbers in just a day. But I want you to keep in mind that he only needed to spend 45 minutes on it all. So in this video, I'm going to break down the exact 4 things that we built for him. I'm going to show you everything step by step so you can go ahead and implement it into your business. So we started off with the research. And it's one of the most important parts, but if you fuck this up, you're going to spend the next months or even years doing marketing around a person who is never going to buy. So before I wrote a single word for Sean, I did research around 4 very specific things. The first one is awareness level. And this one is huge, right? I found that almost all of Sean's audience were problem aware, but not solution aware. Which means that they just knew that they felt like absolute trash. So they had low energy, they were bloated, they couldn't focus, but they basically had like no idea what was causing it. So basically, before we could even start selling them the product, we needed to make sure that they were aware of a solution to their problem, right? And the way that you do this is basically through education itself. For example, if you know that your audience is aware they are broke, but have no idea that they can get rich, you first have to get them to understand that online business exists and is accessible to everyone before you start selling them, your AI dropshipping mentorship. The second thing is sophistication, and it's basically how saturated your market is. And Sean's market was already pretty sophisticated. These are the kinds of people who have tried like every diet on earth and none of them has worked for them. So if you try leading with something like, lose weight fast as the headline, it wouldn't work because they failed by trying something like that. This is why we introduce unique mechanisms that position us in the market of one. And I'll go in depth into that later. And Sean's entire brand is built around one big idea, which is very important. And I see most brands lacking this, right? You need to have everything, all the copy, all the content positioned around one big idea. And in Sean's case, it was visceral fat. So this is the hidden fat that basically wraps around your organs and you can't see it. So most people have no idea that it even exists. And it's a perfect thing to build around because every cult-like audience needs a common enemy, right? That's literally why people fought in wars. And if they were willing to go that far, surely it'll work for selling your mentorship, right? So visceral fat itself is the perfect enemy. Because on top of that, we can also persuade them into believing that every other thing they tried failed just because of this one thing right here, which makes our solution even more superior. And the fourth thing is the belief chain, which is just me mapping out the exact beliefs each person has to believe before buying feels like the next logical step for them. So for Sean, it was something like, you feel like crap. It's not your fault. It's this hidden visceral fat. Here's exactly what it is. Here's how it's slowly killing you. And the only way to even know how much you've got is to measure it. And the only system that measures it and removes it is our own system. So you want to think about what someone needs to believe, every single belief that someone needs to believe in order for them to buy your product. List that all down and you can address that with your content and lead people down the belief chain. This is an example of a problem chain, right? Why does someone drink coffee? Well, what is the main desire that they want? Well, they want status and freedom, let's say, and they link that to making money. And so how do you make money? Well, I need to be productive and I need to do work, right? There are a couple of options here. And let's say I want to sell someone on drinking coffee. Well, I'll sell them on this because this makes the most logical step to get to coffee itself. And then out of energy and focus, there's all of these stuff. But I need to sell them on caffeine itself. So this is where you can throw stones at the other solutions that are in the market as well. Now, why is nicotine worse as compared to caffeine? Well, nicotine, it can really fuck up your body, bro. It's really not good for you. What happens if something happens to you health-wise and then your family has to take care of you, right? As a entrepreneur or as a high-performing man, can you bear to see your wife taking care of you, bringing food to you, right? As you lay sick in bed, unable to provide for your family, right? So this is how you persuade them to go down the belief chain itself. And then lastly, you get to coffee, right? So this is kind of what I'm talking about. The thing is, like, once someone believes in this whole chain, you don't have to convince them of anything else. The sale just kind of happens and every other objection becomes irrelevant to them. This is why we also say in sales, you don't want to get people to say yes. You just want to close every other door that allows them to say no. And automatically, they just walk through that one door and purchase your product. So I took all of that, their pains, their exact words, their false beliefs, all the objections that they had after the research, and I put it into just one document itself. Bro, this is very important. It's not something that you just do once and you completely forget it. So for Sean, every single week we were updating it. So we either run an AI tool over the sales calls, or we have the sales team fill out, quick end of day reports. And then a scheduled automation with Claude Code pulls all of that back into the document automatically. So your messaging is like always locked in, right? Because it's literally updating itself off real data itself. And just missing the one thing, the one big thing, can really fuck up your whole marketing. And because most people don't have this feedback loop itself, there could be just one objection, one question that you're not handling in your pre-call sequences or in your content that is causing you to lose tens of thousands of dollars. And Sean didn't hop on a single call for any of this. We got it all from the absolute mountain of content that this guy had already made over the years. So I looked at all of his videos, all of his podcasts, and all of his posts. So he spent literally 0 minutes over here. So now that we've got the research locked in, the next thing we built was the offer. And when I say built, honestly, we didn't really create anything new. We just properly structured a new offer from the material, the components that Sean already had. Because a coach who's been doing this for years likely already has everything they need for an incredible offer. But most of the time, it's just all over the place like this, right? Or they're giving like every single course they have in a single program. And for the packaging side of this is where Papa Hormozi comes in. And the whole thing about, building an irresistible offer, right, can really be simplified into just 3 main parts. The first one is that the dream outcome feels massive for them. You make them feel that it will genuinely work for them specifically, and you make the time and effort that they have to put in to achieve feel extremely tiny compared to the result. So for Sean, for instance, the dream outcome was like looking 10 years younger and feeling like you're in your 20s again, and reversing all the stuff that your doctor told you just have to live with forever, right? To make people believe that they can also achieve it, we showcase his story of him achieving the exact same thing. And we put in as much testimonials and social proof inside of the marketing itself. And to reduce the effort and sacrifice, we promised that they only need to spend 15 minutes, every single day on that. Then we took all of that and stacked it into one clean named offer with bonuses and a guarantee, so that saying no to it started to feel kind of stupid itself. Now, I'm not going to sit there and turn this into a full offer building masterclass. There's another video that I have somewhere on this channel, I think, so you can go watch that. And I'll be wasting time trying to cram it in here. But the way we do it is we take what the coach already does, we break their process into clean, simple steps, right? I like to break it into 3 to 5 phases, and then we wrap those steps in like 3 layers. So the coaching itself, the course, and the done for you stuff like templates and swipe files. And this done for you element is like the actual cheat code, because it's worth a ton to the buyer, but it costs you basically nothing to hand out once it's being built. And you likely have so many lead magnets right now that you could just use it, right, for layer 3. So that, for example, could be a meal plan spreadsheet. You build it once and then you sell it forever to everyone. And your cost, the second, the third, the 1000th time is literally 0. And Sean literally did not create a single new thing for this offer. We built all of this entire thing out of his content and the teachings he already put out. And I even designed like a few of these pieces myself on stuff that he already taught his audience, because some of the done for you elements that I thought were really, really valuable have not been built up by him. Now, before we get into the funnel, because this is the part where you probably notice that, when you try to do it yourself, it's going to take a shit ton of time. You could just have me and my team build this entire thing out for you. There's like link in the description to book a call with me. It's like the first one in the description. Worst case scenario, hop off that call with a clear roadmap for your exact niche, because again, the strategy shifts a little depending on who you're selling to. But you can 100% build this for yourself, right? So let's keep going, because the funnel is where everything comes together. So the biggest mistake I see coaches make over and over again is building this insanely complicated funnel with like a shit ton of moving parts, and hence more points that it could fail, right? For an audience that generally buy it from like the simplest sales page on earth. The thing that you need to understand is that the funnel has to match the person on the other end of it. And once you see how stupidly simple we kept Sean's funnel, you're going to realize that you've been massively overcomplicating yours the entire time. We just had like 3 steps. So the first thing is a free thing first, a cheap challenge second, it's a mid-ticket product, and a high-ticket page to book a call at the top. So let me just walk through it one step at a time and actually show how it looks like in practice. So step 1 is the free lead magnet itself that gets someone onto his email list, which is his main revenue driver in the first place, right? Which is why we double down on what works. Don't try and add new things first, double down on what works first. So look at this page itself, right? The headline is claim your free 5-day doctor-approved biofat elimination framework to burn 10 to 15 pounds of stubborn fat. So there's about 4 different things happening in that one headline that is doing all the work for us basically. The first thing that we did is actually name what this free thing is, right? So it's not just a generic free guide, but the biofat elimination framework. And naming it makes it sound like a real proprietary system. The second word is doctor approved, which is instant credibility, because in the health space, the fact that an actual doctor is behind it, right, cues a ton of skepticism, which is the main, right, latent condition, one of the main psychological conditions of our audience itself. The third thing is this line, sitting right under the headline itself. Even if intermittent fasting, trendy diets, or extreme cardio programs have failed you in the past, which kills their biggest objections. And the whole, I've tried everything and nothing works for me belief. And the fourth one, start now by taking this 1-minute test to find out how much toxic fat you're carrying. That's a first tiny yes for them. And the reason this page converted at, I think at 35 to 40% conversion rate is simply because, number one, we called out the target audience, right? The biggest pain point that they had. Remember, they're problem aware, right? So we want to talk about their problem. For the headline itself, you want to use something called the 4 U's. So unique, biofat elimination framework; useful, burn 10 to 15 pounds of stubborn fat; ultra specific, right? 5-day, 10 or 15 pounds biofat elimination framework; and urgent. Well, it's urgent right here because they're really fed up with their pain. Right, so you want to check your headline through these 4 U's: urgent, useful, ultra-specific, and unique. Now, why do we add this one line over here? Remember how Sean's audience is inherently skeptical and they've tried so many things. So we want to reduce the amount of friction that is required for them, the perceived amount of friction that is required for them to take action. And so saying that it's a 1-minute test to find out how much toxic fat you're carrying, something that they're likely very interested in, right? And a 1-minute test massively reduces effort and sacrifice on their part. And this lock here also creates curiosity from them. And having a framework makes it seem like, there's just 5 days itself and you can eliminate 10 to 15 pounds of stubborn fat, which you could actually do with this Sean's system as well. Now, right here, what we also do is we give them 3 benefit bullets on exactly the biggest 3 benefits that appeal to our audience itself. And right here, what you'll notice is that we keep this lead magnet page very, very simple itself as well, right? It's just eyebrow copy, headline, that copy. We have an extra line for more curiosity itself and to make them take action and to lower friction. We have the product mockup to create curiosity and tangibility. We have this opt-in area, and this is optional, but we have 3 bullets over here, right? And these are the 3 things that our audience cares about the most, which is why we added it over here. Now, once they drop in their name and their email, right, they're on the list and they move up to step 2. So they're immediately redirected to this page while they're being sent an email, which I'll talk about later, which is the 30-day challenge for $195. Yes, of course, in terms of design, we can definitely make it a lot better, but this was actually converting at a pretty high rate as well. So there's no need to change something that was already working. And we actually sold this 2 completely different ways on purpose. We wrote a full long-form sales page with the entire story on it because our research shows that Sean's audience generally loves reading like long emotional stories, right? And if you think about it, this was a generation whereby people were still reading like newspapers and stuff. That's why we had this long form sales page with pictures itself to make it engaging. And of course the formatting as well. But we also stuck a short video at the top of the page, for people who can't be bothered to read everything. You need to always match the format to the buyer instead of just forcing everyone down one path. So it opens by pointing at a clear villain. The billion-dollar health industry has been lying to you, which confirms their suspicions itself and immediately lifts all the shame off the reader's shoulders. Because now it's not, they failed. Instead, they simply got lied to. Then it goes into Sean's story, the overweight, exhausted doctor. And you can even see from the picture itself here, right? With brain fog, who knew like every textbook answer in the world and still couldn't fix his own body. And this is the part, after people read this, we want them to go, oh shit, that's literally me. But once you can do that with your story section, it means that you have won. And at the end, what we're going to do is talk about, Sean's credentials, awards, all the famous patients that he's treated. And all of that comes after the story, not before it. Because no one cares, really. No one cares how impressive you are until they care about you as a person. So leading with social proof just doesn't work really, really well right now. Then the page names this unique mechanism itself, which now looking back, it could definitely be a much better unique mechanism. The way I would change it is it has to be aligned with the visceral fat itself, right? But the reason why I named it 360 wellness system is because it covers everything. So it walks them through as well, the dream of what life would look like. So you can't see it on this page, but it drops in a couple of like comparison charts itself and testimonials, right? Now, once you drop in the unique mechanism itself, it's really good to drop a step-by-step process as well, especially if your audience is more analytical, right? Because what this does is it reaffirms the fact that you know what you're doing. And right in here, what you can do is also handle objections, right? You see, no more counting calories or starving yourself. So it's all benefits and what's in it for me over here. Okay? And again, what we're doing over here is talking about the dream state, what life would look like after they implement this. And it's only after this do you have our first CTA right here. And then boom, we have all the features and the benefits itself and everything that they'll gain, right? And this is very, very important over here. You see that this is a couple of comparison charts. And the reason we have this is, again, our audience is more analytical. And this is very simple to create, right? You can just create this in like Google Sheets or something. If you want to make it more professional, right now you can use like Claude Code to create something that aligns with your brand colors as well. That'd be really good. And after that, what we do is anchor it against the actual worth of the solution, which is worth way more than $2,000, right? And we say that you can get all of this today for just $195. And because of that, by the time you hear that it's, $195, it feels like an absolute bargain. And what you also want to do is reframe this price itself, right? For just $7, would you rather save $7 for the next 30 days or trade that for all of this? And then create urgency. And the best thing you can do is also add a guarantee over here at the end, right? So that's basically the entire page itself. Now, the short video version on that page runs on like the exact same structure as well. And we use it on like basically every video that we write. So basically, you open a hook with a hook that stops the audience in their tracks. So it's, in this case, since our audience is problem aware, we're going to open with calling out a problem. And then you tell a backstory, right here. A backstory in a way that mirrors the viewer's own life. So they see themselves in it, right? You bring in the villain, you show them the stakes of doing nothing as well. You tell about the moment everything changed for you. You reveal the new mechanism. And then you show your results and other people's results. And only right at the end, you make the offer. So this structure does like literally 90% of the work for you because you will pre-handle every objection, you build connection, you build the like and trust factor, and you make the offer feel like the next logical step, right? For example, for Sean's high-ticket video itself, the opening hook was like, if you're watching this, you might be 40 seconds away from a heart attack, something like that, right? And that's a shock factor that stops, a busy 50-year-old guy from scrolling. And so you walk in with the stakes turned all the way up, and hence people pay attention. And one thing I want to mention about is the bonuses on this challenge page as well, right? What you need to understand is that a bonus is not like a pile of random free stuff that you just stack on to make the offer look fatter, because I see like most coaches tend to do this. Every single bonus has to kill one specific objection that the buyer has. So for instance, Sean's meal plan bonus over here kills the objection of, I won't know what to eat. And the sprint plan bonus over here kills the objection of, I don't know what to do to work out. I don't have time to work out. And the logbook that we have over here, the longevity logbook, right? It kills the objection of, I can't stay consistent because it's just 10 high impact habits, right? Each bonus has to have its own purpose. And if it doesn't handle any objection, right, there's like no point even putting it inside the offer itself because you're just bloating it unnecessarily. And again, Sean made 0 of those bonuses himself. We rebuilt every single one out of his existing content. And like I said, I designed a few of them, right, based off the teachings that I found on YouTube that he already put out years ago. Our research also told us that these older buyers, basically, they were craving for like a community. And they didn't want to go through this entire process alone. So what we did is we added a community as a bonus. And we funneled people straight into his mentorship, which had like a free tier, a $99.99 tier, where you actually like get live group calls with Sean. So now people on the cheap challenge had a real reason to keep climbing to get like more access to him. And step 3 of his funnel is a book a call funnel with his premium program itself, right? The one with like an extra MRI scan and one-on-one coaching, which sits about 2.5K, where we use the same story structure, but we turn the pain of inaction and the perceived value of the offer way higher, right? The mechanism on this one was basically here. The measure, attack, track, and optimize for life. And it closed as well with a double guarantee. If the scan found that you had 0 visceral fat, Sean is going to refund you completely, which is a huge part because a lot of people believe that they don't have it itself. So this shows, his confidence in the thing that he's teaching. Now, you might be wondering, Ethan, normally a book a call page shouldn't it just be like a headline, a video, application? Yeah, that's correct. But what we found is for Sean, right, this long form sales page thing seems to work very well for him. And based on a split test, we found that this page actually converts at a higher rate as compared to just the video alone, because that's what we started off with. You always want to start your funnel as simple as possible, right? And over time, you add more elements and you split test stuff to find which is the highest converting one. So since this page got Sean more book calls, we are not even going to touch it anymore. We can run more split tests on it, but for now, this is good because this is not the bottleneck right now. Now, Sean also sells these physical packages that run from like 16 to 50K each. So this funnel warmed people up for those two, and you probably close like 3 or 4 of them. It's a direct side effect of that one. But obviously, I didn't count that into like the 15K a month because that's outside of his core digital business, and I don't want to inflate any numbers for you guys. So that's the entire funnel. And as you could have seen, the entire thing was tied to like the audience research itself and the offer, right? So the market research, the psychographics of the audience itself, right? It's very, very important. But the most important part here is Sean only spent about 20 minutes reviewing all the stuff that I've created for him, the pages and the VSL, and maybe about 25 minutes recording everything, which adds up to the 45 minutes that we talked about. Alright, and now we can go into the emails. And this is the thing that still prints in money until this day, because all we needed to do is set it up once, and we've literally done like 12.5K off these 5 emails. So now I already did like a separate, video breaking down those 5 emails line by line. But let me just give you the strategy sitting on top of it. And I'll give you some source that the other video doesn't cover. But basically for every single person that opts into this sequence, Sean makes an average of like $62, right? So it should be lower right now, I think. But at first, when we first launched this, it was very, very high. So Sean's audience is, older, affluent professionals. And those people genuinely love getting emails. So they check them every single day, right? But again, if the audience was like 18 to 25 years old, I'll build like the entire thing around a Telegram group, a Discord channel, or WhatsApp group itself. Again, right, it's very important that your funnel aligns with your demographics, because putting your buyers on the wrong channel is like trying to text like your grandma on Discord or something. It's just not going to work. You can text her the most, fucking beautiful, heartwarming poem about how grateful you are for her, but she's not even going to see it, right? And hence you're not going to convert shit. So the channel has to match the demographic. So the first thing that we built was a drama story sequence, which is 5 emails over 6 days that takes a brand new subscriber who just grabbed his free guide from a total stranger to a buyer itself. That sequence alone, again, made 12.5K off 200 new people, and you can copy this entire thing from the other video. Then on top of this drama story sequence itself, there's a part that's specific to his funnel. And once someone actually joined the challenge itself, to increase the likelihood of them going through the entire program and hence seeing better results with it, and hence upselling to our premium program itself, we also made sure to send them emails because this was the channel that they used the most. The daily emails that they got at this point were basically the same content that they were going to see inside the program itself. But I slipped a little PS into a specific emails, like the ones at day 5, day 10, day 15, day 20, day 25, day 30. And each one mentioned that if they wanted more help, they could book a call for the high ticket program itself. So the entire upsell to the high ticket offer was incorporated into the daily value itself. And it didn't feel like a pitch, right? Plus the goodwill that we've built from this itself, you have to think about it this way, right? Whenever they see results, which they'll likely see, we position it so that they'll see results on day 3, day 4. So these are very quick action steps that they can take that will immediately get them results. And on day 5, we say, these are the action steps for today. PS, if you've been feeling a change, right? Imagine the change would feel if you understood like how much visceral fat you have, if you had Sean teaching you one-to-one. And it's kind of the same flow over here. So we had a pretty good conversion rate as well for people to book a call from this sequence itself. Then right after they finish day 30, there's also a dedicated upsell sequence. Something like that. This is the last email of it, right? That takes everyone basically who completed the challenge and pitches them on this premium MRI program. And the angles are like nasty in the best way. So one of them is basically, congrats, you're now in the 1% who finished, which appeals to them wanting to be like an alpha male. And another one is about a guy who died, right? That's kind of a sad story, despite having like perfect blood work. And it's a very important story for them as well. Another one I remember is like, we did 6,000 scans, 0 people passed it, right? Which again, handles objection of, what if I just don't have visceral fat? So a big chunk of that recurring revenue is people climbing the 195 challenge up to the high ticket offer because the emails kept walking them up the offer ladder itself. And then the last thing, which is not sexy at all, but matters so much, right, at scale, is just tracking the numbers properly. So every week I sit down and just look at every metric across Sean's emails and see all the patterns across them. And I've noticed that the second I put like some controversial angle in or some weird mechanism that no one has heard of, right, the open rates and click rates would be noticeably better. For instance, when I added a how to avoid injury while sprinting email, right? We got like a 42.5% open rate and 3.6% click rate, right? And so I reverse engineer that. And basically, I write more emails related to that, right? For instance, we have how to build up to sprinting, which did pretty well for us as well. All you need to do, right, is just look at what worked, do more of it, and it's literally not that complicated. And if you ever run out of ideas, just go read your own YouTube comments, and Reddit threads from your niche is very, very good as well. Because those are the angles that your audience has already told you that they care about. For instance, this email itself, right? This I think was like the 20th, 30th email that I wrote for him, right? So this is once I had a pretty good understanding of his audience, and this email literally made him about 3.5K. We have 5 people bought his program itself, and 1 person upsold to his premium MRR program. So this is like how much literally emails can make you, as long as you're doing it well. So again, Sean didn't have to do any research himself. He didn't have to take any calls. The offer was already structured around the material he already had, and he didn't need to make any extra bonuses or write any emails. The only thing that he had to do is just review the stuff that I built for him for about 20 minutes and record it for another 25 minutes. Now again, because he spent so little time, right, he got a result that was corresponding to that. Right now, our clients are making $60,000 to $80,000 a month. They are really active on their offer itself. But again, if you have very, very little time, we're still able to achieve you great results. So that's about 45 minutes for an extra $15,341 a month. On top of that, a 45% growth basically in his digital business over 5 months, $9,000 in the first 26 days from these emails before we even finish building the funnel out, and $12,500 from 5 emails sent to just 200 people. And just to keep it like completely transparent, at that point in time, Sean still had his own sales team handling the calls. So what I did was the marketing side itself, the funnels, the offer, the bonuses, the emails, and the entire backend. So these days, we also run the entire sales side for our clients as well. And the whole lesson that I want you to take away from this video is that even if you're great at what you do, but the systems in your business don't even let you teach the thing, because you're fundamentally constrained by the lack of systems in your business that prevents you from actually coaching more clients and getting them even better results. You're leaving so much more money, so much more impact on the table than you could think, right? And you literally could just fix it one time and add multiple 5 figures to your MRR or even 6 figures with minimal, even less than an hour of work. So right now, I've handed you the entire blueprint to go ahead and build 4 of these systems today and make an additional 5 figures every month. But if you're doing like 30 to 50K a month, the truth is you don't have the next 3 months to put all of this together. We're already looking at an endless to-do list, right? So if you want to see how much a system like this would actually make for your business, and whether me and my team can just build this entire thing for you, or you get to stay on camera and just actually do the thing that you're best at, which is coaching your students, you can click on the first link in the description to book a call with me. And if you want like the full line-by-line breakdown of those 5 emails that made $12,500, go watch this video right here next. It should pop up somewhere on the screen. But that's it for today's video, and see you in the next one.